Hey guys, and welcome back to the Modern Housewife podcast. I am so excited for today's episode because it's something that obviously, if you followed me throughout the last 2 years of my semi-hiatus on social media, you will know we've been up to. Okay, so today I want us to do a podcast dedicated. Now, the entirety of the Modern Housewife podcast is not going to be about this because we do have a separate podcast on business. But today I wanted to do one specifically catered towards moms that have little kids, and basically how we were able to scale our business to 7 figures with little kids at home as a married couple. So I'm really going to touch on things like convincing, I put this in air quotes if you guys are listening, convincing, because it's like nearly impossible to do, but your spouse to get on board with a side hustle, or the mindset required to do incredible things in an online or any kind of business with tiny kids that truly are climbing you like a tree 24/7. So I'm going to talk about like the mindset behind it, how we were literally able to make it happen, like the routines we have set in place for our family, because we have not had a nanny like at all. We have a nanny recently over the last probably year here and there, like every once in a while for 3 hours at a time. That's where my kids are right now, actually. But it's 3 hours is so fleeting. Like you couldn't, like once a week for 3 hours, a couple times here and there is not going to help you like make a lot of money in your business. It's going to help you like take a shower and like clean something, you know? So we haven't had help. We don't have grandparents that live near us at all. My parents retired in Mexico, 8 hours away. His parents live 7 hours or 8 hours in Santa Cruz, California from us. So we don't have help from anybody. It's been me and Doug solo running this business with one other employee for the last 2 years. And we do it when our kids are sleeping. Really, the time that I work is during nap times. After they go to sleep was really the first year. It was rough, okay? Rough on the marriage, not gonna lie. Rough on your mental state, rough on your health. And so today I'm gonna talk about, is it worth it? Like it sounds like it is, right? Scaling a business to 7 figures, but like, is it worth it? Like, do I regret certain things? And what would I say to a mom that maybe is struggling financially, or somebody that someone that wants to get out of the rat race that is life? Maybe they're working 8 to 5 jobs. They don't know what they should specifically do. What would I tell that person, And so today I'm not going to necessarily talk about our business, like how it works and all that. We have a whole, like I said, a whole podcast called The Digital Income Family. I'll link it down below. It's done with me and my husband right here with the same bird wall, if you guys are watching. And we talk specifics about online courses, semi-passive income, making an income through teaching people what you know through your knowledge and expertise. And so I'm not going to talk about the logistics. You guys can watch that. This is all about like literally how we made it happen, starting over on social media, starting over from nearly scratch. Okay, so if that interests you, then let's go ahead and get into it. So really quickly, before we get into it, Doug and I created this training. So how to create the life of your dreams through an online course and selling an online course. So it's more catered towards people that want to use the knowledge they have. It doesn't matter if you are a regular mom that hasn't worked in 20 years. Like we've had people do crazy things in our program. But a regular person that doesn't know like what niche they should choose, that isn't on necessarily social media, or even if you are, like how do you start and scale an online course? And so we have this whole training for you. It's multiple different video trainings, and yeah, you guys can get it for free. So I'll link that down below, but let's go ahead and get into the podcast. Okay, so let's rewind the clock. How did I get here? And it was truly, like I mentioned in the beginning, one of the most difficult things I've ever done was becoming a mom. Was pretty difficult in like my mindset, really nothing like literal. But one of the most difficult things next to that is starting and running an online business. And I'm not talking necessarily like my YouTube business, but like a legit online business with a big email list, running ads, hiring employees with my spouse. So it's not necessarily because like it was with my spouse. We always work most of the time, actually. Most of the time we work really well together. We never argue about anything anymore at all. As far as like the business, maybe like the house is dirty, you should clean more, like little spats here and there. But as far as the business, we're really on the same page. It was not always like that. Okay. So it wasn't because of the marriage part. It was just hard for us mentally because of the money, really just number one, because the money mindset we have. And so that is something that I want to touch on too, because for instance, I hear a lot of women, they want to get out. They want their husband to quit their job, get out of the rat race, or they want to quit their job. Like I said in the beginning, and they're like, honey, like, let's do this thing, but it costs this much money. And I'm not talking about like our program or anything like that, or buying a camera or anything, just in general, like businesses cost money. And the spouse, most of the time, is like more level-headed if they're a dude, oftentimes, not always. And they're like, that's too much. Like, that's too risky. You don't have time. Or the wife is like, I don't have time, whatever. And so anyways, how do we go through that? That stuff is like very difficult. But like I said, let's rewind. Okay. So I created and I think this is like very helpful for you guys to see or get like an insight into how we were able to make this happen through obviously my own experience. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Doug, how we're able to do this. Okay. So I created this vision for my life. Honestly, it was like 6 or 7 years ago, before my firstborn was born, thanks to my dad. So my dad has always been an entrepreneur, and it always started with him, even though he'd like to say it wouldn't, but he was a born and bred entrepreneur. My whole like Portuguese side of my family, my dad's full Portuguese, which means he's full like go 24/7, super extroverted, super talkative, very social, very opinionated, very loud. And that's how my whole side of the family is. And so they're all entrepreneurial. My grandpa ran his own business. My dad started and stopped and failed and succeeded at multiple different businesses. And so as a super young child, there was like no question in my mind that being an entrepreneur was the only way. And so like I created this vision for my life, and it really has held true even until now. And basically it is always evolving. Okay. So the vision was, and I have notes here because there's like a lot to cover. So if I'm looking down, that's why, but I didn't want to live like everybody else. Like I said, thanks to my dad. So I had grown up middle class. We never came from like wealth at all, ever, never. My mom always supported my dad's endeavors because he is a dreamer and he threw money at different types of businesses, and you guys can imagine how that went. But she's very supportive. She was a full-time nurse, and she just retired like 2 years ago, working full-time at like age 60 something. So she is like amazing, obviously. And they're still married and living in Mexico, like I said. So working mom, I didn't see her a lot. She was, like I said, a nurse, sometimes a night nurse. And so I knew like, hell no, am I going to work like that woman? And no shade to her, like props. You know, I give my mom all the praise in the world. Like, you have no idea, no beef with my mom at all. We're like best friends. So, but I saw her work so hard, and she knows, supporting my dad, supporting our family a lot of the time, up and down. And I said, I'm not doing that. Like, I am not doing that. And so my dad, on the other side, he's more, like I said, of a dreamer. My mom's more logical. He taught me about the mindset to getting out of that, even though for a lot of years, my dad struggled in different ways because businesses failed. He had, business partners, like the relationships, exploded, or for different reasons, didn't work out. Even though things went up and down, he always knew like, you're going to be an entrepreneur. And so that was taught, like that was really placed upon my identity as a very young child. And so he taught me to see things completely differently. So for instance, like if we were in the grocery store, they give me, a kid free stickers or a toy at McDonald's. And I'd say, look, Dad, it's free. He said, nothing's free. You pay with your time. You pay with your attention. You pay. So he was always like 100% of the time teaching me entrepreneurial values. He didn't necessarily encourage or discourage college. He was like, go if you want to, because he loved learning. He was a reader. He still is. He's alive, obviously. But like he reads 24/7. But he did always have me question society's plan for me. It started when I was really young. I don't even know, probably like the beginning of high school, maybe before, I don't know. But he was reading me entrepreneurial books, like bedtime stories. It was kind of weird, but so he had me read 2 books that changed who I was like forever. And it was like always ingrained in me. So the first one is, the basic Think and Grow Rich. And the second one I can't even leak. And I've looked up. So if you guys know, you can let me know. I doubt it because it's like so old. My dad's 70. So there's this one book that he had me read, and I don't even think I read the whole thing, but on the cover of the book, it's like imprinted in my mind. It was it was like LA traffic, but everybody driving in the traffic, like standstill traffic, were rhinos. And they all looked exactly the same, going one way. And there was one rhino turn the opposite way from all the other rhinos, like driving in the opposite direction. And I don't even remember I could imagine what the book is about. Like, don't, be an 8-to-5er or whatever. And so I always was scared, not necessarily like literally, But it was always in the back of my mind. I was scared. I didn't want to be like the other rhinos. And so I was constantly like, questioning authority. You guys kind of know that's my personality. People don't like that about me. I can absolutely ruffle feathers. I question everything. I have strong opinions. I'm half Portuguese, I think that's why. But I was always looking for a way out. I was a C student. I didn't want to learn what I didn't want to learn. I wanted to learn the things and this is why I homeschool clearly. I wanted to learn the things that I wanted to learn about. I wanted more time for that kind of stuff. And I wasn't homeschooled because it wasn't popular back then, obviously in the 90s. And my dad had to work and my mom had to work. And so this is what happened though. College really sucked me back into the rhino life, for lack of better words. Hence why I don't actually I'm not going to encourage, neither is Doug, college for my own kids unless they're going in it for STEM, because then they're actually getting something out of it. During college, I was really blindsided by the masses and society's plan for me. So the moment I got out though, the moment I graduated, I got a regular job because I was like, well, I'll put my degree to use, like my mom says, and I quit after like 8 months. And anyways, so I told Doug at the time that if he supported me, because we were living together with high rent in LA, that if he supported me, I think at 22 years old, I'd eat beans. I'd take the laundry to the laundromat for the cheapest place I could find. We could share a car. Like I'd do anything and my job was good. It was like a marketing firm that overlooked the beautiful like Manhattan Beach. I had ocean view. Absolute death to me. It felt like prison because probably what my dad was planting in my head, the seed he was planting in my head since I was a child. So I was doing anything to make money. I was not going to do that though. So fast forward, I'll try and go a little faster. I know a lot of you guys might know my story, but I got my first job off of Craigslist. I think it was like $17 an hour. I met this random guy. I would never do this nowadays. This was like 2015. I met him at a coffee shop and I ended up basically managing his Amazon listings. It's a company called Innate Skin. You can look it up. They do like pills for skincare, I think, and other things like oil cleansing method when that was like really big. So then I obviously started a YouTube. Realized it'd take years, got pregnant, started freelancing and replaced my income in under 12 months with a new baby, selling digital products on Etsy. So I take pictures of my apartment. A lot of people don't know this. And I'd sell those on Etsy or different types of products. I can't even explain. It's very strange. But you can, download them and all that. And then I was really doing UGC content hard before it was called UGC content. So user generated content. I take a picture of like, a macrame wall thing that an Etsy shop would send me. And then I'd sell the rights to that photo. That was only photos at the time. Thank gosh, it'd be way harder if it was videos because I was not a good videographer. And so I was turning like a really good profit and I replaced my income doing those two things, really UGC content. But I wouldn't recommend it. People ask me all the time, how do I do it? No, don't do it. Like, don't. Because it's not like a legit business. It's like a side hustle. Like you got to think bigger. Okay, I digress. So for a long time, I was just chasing freedom. And that comes, I don't care what anybody says. I do not care. Freedom comes in the form of money. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys freedom. Freedom's happiness. So, you can decide if money's evil or not. If deciding it's evil though is really going to make you not have it, like ever. So I was never coupon clipping. My dad did not let us coupon clip because he only wanted us to focus on abundance. Well, me and my sister, abundance, never scarcity, never looking for a deal, never shopping for deals. Like even if he was shopping for a deal because he knew he didn't have a lot of money, he'd say, don't do this when you're older, So never focusing on lack, always focusing on more. And so because of that, I always saw myself as someone with the identity that I was going to be wealthy. I was going to have $1 million. It was easy. Like it was there and I was going to have it because my dad kept planting the seed. Like clearly I am blessed in that way. Because if you believe it's possible for you, then it becomes possible for you. Like I know it's not that, people think it's not that simple, but it is. If you tell yourself all the time through your actions, through your thoughts, really through the things that you believe. We talk a lot about beliefs, like a little bit in the last episode, but like motherhood beliefs really. But if you believe that like it's not going to happen for you, you're going to find literal reasons and self-fulfilling prophecies. We're getting weird here, but you're going to find reasons why it's not going to happen. And so you have to tell yourself it's easy. There's plenty for everybody and it's going to happen for me. It's just a matter of time. And so I always thought that. So then my husband and I, obviously, we started, if you follow us, an Amazon FBA business. He quit his job from that. I went full-time on YouTube. And then we quit YouTube because I didn't feel like it was a legit business. I felt like Algorithms change all the time. I was a headless monkey chicken, whatever, like chasing views. It was depressing. It was soul sucking. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. It was the worst. So if you guys followed me back then, I think you maybe got the vibe. I was entertaining for a lot of people, but not like, I didn't have dignity is the word I'm looking for, because I was willing to do whatever to feed my family, because I was the breadwinner being a YouTuber. Now, it's not that I regret that. I say this always. I don't regret it. I've learned a lot. I love YouTube, still do it, but not for sponsorships only as your way of getting paid, because you have to just do whatever the people want. Okay. You can't do what you want. So we stopped that income stream and we gave ourselves about 3 months. Well, I was like, we're doing it because I'm dying. And Doug, he's along for the ride. Trust me. He's very, very supportive with everything. And now we're really in it together. Thank God, literally. But at the time I was like, I think it was like November. And I was like, we have until February, like, to figure this out. Cause I'm not going to I'm not taking any more sponsorships. I'm not posting on YouTube for like 3 months. And so I won't talk too deeply in it because we have a whole podcast, obviously. But we were doing sponsorships and affiliates and all the things that you do as an influencer. I had no more of that. I stopped doing any of that. We were making some money from old YouTube videos, obviously. But I dried up the income streams purposefully to force ourselves not to be lax, to force ourselves not to be comfortable, because I knew that there was a better life. So we started selling online courses. We paid $20,000 into a mentor to teach us what we know. And we've paid a lot more, $150,000 more on top of that throughout the last 3 years to learn even more information. Way more valuable than my college degree, my business degree, like kill me. And so now that's where we're at. We've been able to earn 7 figures through courses. So anyways, I tell you guys all of that because we did all of this with kids. Okay. So obviously I started all this when I had like a tiny baby. And so 90% of the time, like I said, no nanny, no family around. We hired a housekeeper in 2019 with the little money that we did have, because that is what really gets your time back, is not cleaning, but it's just once a week. It doesn't do much, So I get this question a lot. I want to change my life. Like, I want to earn more money in my life. I want to help my family. I want to be able to retire my parents, but my spouse isn't on board. So before we get to the discussion about like getting your spouse on board, let's first go back to I know I said this twice, but the very first thing I talked about, which is your vision. So remember in the very beginning, I said, I always had a strong vision. I created this vision for my life 6 years ago. And the vision was, I will not stop at mediocrity. I will not stop at being that. I will not succumb to the rhino life. The vision that I have currently and that I always had is making money is easy. Or if it's not now, it will be quickly, shortly. Making money super easy. Money is everywhere. Money comes to me. Now, these are all like affirmation, woo-woo, witchy stuff. That's what Doug calls it. And I am religious. I am Christian. And I believe, and I wrote this down, that everywhere in the Bible, it talks about God blessing them with wealth. Some of the biggest characters in the Bible who obeyed God the most were wealthy, and he blessed them through money. God also teaches you the value of hard work, working hard. So yeah, my dad never taught me to feel any negative emotions toward rich people. Oh, that person has like annoying Lamborghini. Like, let's roll our eyes. No. We have to ask ourselves, we have to tell ourselves they have something that we don't, which is knowledge. Okay. So as far as like the vision thing, you have to analyze your beliefs. If you believe that it's going to be hard, why do you believe that? Was it because it was hard for your parents? Why was it hard for your parents? Was it hard for them because of their mindset? Yes. It was hard because of their mindset. It's not hard for Haley because her dad, and you can change this. You can change the fact that, it's easy for Haley because her dad, she had that kind of like influence, but you can change that. It's like a simple choice. Everything is a choice. You are where you are because of your choices, not because the government's like, doing something negative to your family or because your husband lost his job. You're in that position because of your choices. Okay. So anyways, back to the vision. I got sidetracked. So you have to have a strong vision for your life if you want to go somewhere else. If you have there's a Bible verse, and now I'm not like an expert on the Bible, but it's like, without a vision, people will perish, something like that. And that's always stuck with me because for a long time, bouncing from business to business, being a YouTuber, being a UGC content creator, being a freelancer and like, I don't know, working after college at a job. I didn't have a vision for my life, and I was not necessarily unhappy. I was happy, but I was never content. And it wasn't the life that I necessarily wanted to be living. So you have to ask yourself, like, what beliefs do you want to subscribe to in your life? Do you want to continue to subscribe to the belief that money is evil, or that rich people, slight poor people, or whatever it is, because if you think those things, it's not going to come to you. So as far as like the literal things, you can do a vision board, you can write affirmations, like I was just talking about a couple of them, or you can say, this is what I will no longer tolerate in my life. And this has been the biggest, most pivotal thing for me. I would say to myself, I will no longer tolerate. Now, a lot of people will hear this and they'll say, she's greedy. And I get this. People send me this stuff. She's greedy. She just wants money, whatever. I told myself, I don't care how it sounds. I don't care. I will no longer tolerate not being a 7-figure earner, because my belief is that when you have more money, you amplify who you are. And I know I'm a good person. So I will use it to help my parents. I will use it to help charities that I like. I will use it to tip people, big tips. I'll use it to, I don't know, like do well for people and my own kids and my family. And without money, you can't really help that many people. You can in your little circle, but there's only so much you can do. And so money, it is required for my life. And so you have to have those types of beliefs. And even if it feels impossible to you and you're making like $1,000 a month down the slumps of your life, not literally, you have to change your reality and what you see every day. And you got to see the world a different way. Okay. So anyways, the vision is important. And so another thing that I really had for my vision was, I'm going to be a 7-figure earner, and it obviously evolved to this, but I'm going to homeschool my kids, and I'm only going to work 1 day a week. So I know a lot of people if they had heard me think those thoughts back then, they'd say, Haley wants too much. Haley wants it all. That's impossible. She's ridiculous. Well, it's only ridiculous if you don't believe it, So it's happened to me. It's not ridiculous. And another thing was, I don't want my husband to work at a regular job, like ever. I want him to help me homeschool. That is actually our reality. We split the subjects because he's better at science and math, like frankly. And he wants to, if he didn't want to, then I wouldn't make that my belief, but he wants to. I adopt his beliefs. He wants to be a race car driver. Side note, I talked about it like here and there. He's buying a race car, hopefully this year, probably this year. And we're moving into a new house soon, and so you can have everything you want if you believe. It's that simple. And then because once you adopt the belief, you work your way backwards. So the vision is more important than how you're going to do it, I think, because once you have that strong vision, those strong beliefs as to what you are no longer going to tolerate in your life, you'll figure out a way to no longer tolerate those things and put a path in place, or form a path in place that will get you there faster. Okay, so a lot of people have these. I'm going to address some common beliefs because I think that a lot of people struggle with these. We know because Doug has taken hundreds, 1,000 maybe sales calls over the last 3 years. And he hears it from all the women, because they come from my audience, or all the men, a lot of their husbands too. And so they will say, I don't have time to create a side hustle. It doesn't have to be courses. It could be like drop shipping. It could be like, reselling things from a thrift store. I don't care what it is. It could be you're an influencer or you're not, you're like a dog breeder. Like it could literally be anything. It doesn't matter what the industry is. So they will say, I don't have time to create a side hustle. And then their belief is that, but also, I need to focus on my kids during this season. There's nothing wrong with that belief. Like focusing on your kids and not doing a side hustle, like, dude, like go ahead. Like it's totally fine. I don't think every woman should be like me. I don't think every woman needs to have these things in their life. It's just, I have these because of my upbringing, and I place more, I don't know, like I just have more pressure. I put more pressure on myself to do things. Because it's easier for me to, and different things. So anyways, but if you tell yourself that I want to do it, but I just have no time because these little kids, that's totally fine if you want to adopt the belief. A lot of beliefs that I have that I could change, like I won't, like homeschooling, obviously. So I'm there with you guys. I understand, but you have to, if you want it to happen, and if you're beating yourself up over it, you should ask yourself instead, well, is this a belief, like I have been saying, is it rooted in reality, or is it rooted in a past experience that might be skewed, that might be because of someone else you saw go through the same thing, so you think it'll happen to you? Is it rooted in a lie, basically? So you got to ask yourself, do I actually need that much time? and then do your research and figure out a way to maybe oppose that belief and prove it wrong. So you can get what you want, because again, if you don't change your beliefs, you're not going to get it. Another thing that people will say is husband's not into it. Husband doesn't believe it. Husband doesn't want to put our money towards that. You have to ask yourself, do you need his full support? Now, I'm not saying to do anything weird, hide behind your husband's back. We've literally seen it all. Don't recommend it. We don't like it. If you're hiding behind your husband's back, like we always say, stop. And we've had students that do this. Please stop. So anyways, if your, husband is not into it and he is opposing this idea, is it because of an experience of you're taking time away from him or the kids? Can you figure out a way to appease him? That sounds bad, but you know what I mean? Like fill his cup, fill his needs and your kids' needs, and also work on this business. Or another question you could ask yourself is, would he be mad if you worked on this solo, if you worked on this during nap time and that's it? So once upon a time, you guys will know if you follow our other podcast, my husband, Doug, he is literally like, I think it's because I'm not saying this to be racist or anything like that, nothing like that, but his dad's half Japanese, and the Japanese people, if you've been there and I've been there, they are workaholics. Okay. They'll work themselves literally to death sometimes in Japan. It's insane. So it's just really in that culture. His dad was like that, very much 8 to 5 mentality, work, work, work. Doug was like that too, he's still like that, but he really was like that. And he's only a quarter. So I don't know if it's that. That's just my theory, because if I can see his family and like how they work. And so he did not subscribe to the entrepreneurial way at all. We were very opposites, zero of the same aligned values in that way. And so rather than trying to convince him forever, I just set out to show him what's possible, really, through me quietly working and having that utmost faith that I've always had, versus being like, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then complaining that he's not supportive and that's why I'm not successful. So definitely don't do that. So how do we manage it all? Let me go to a lighter subject. Okay, so how do we manage it all? Clearly, I'm not like an expert on podcasting and talking to myself. So what we have done is I have worked. Now it's easier, obviously, because my husband, Doug, doesn't work 8 to 5, but it's still very hard because the kids are always there. So they're not in school. So what we've done is we just trade off time. And most of the time we do spend it actually as a family. A lot of people think that like, I'll work all Monday 8 to 5 and he'll work all Tuesday. No, we actually only have worked on our business probably 20 to 30 hours a week max over the last 3 years. So I'll work during nap time, and I have a really structured time during nap time. Maybe I'll do like a reel on it or something, or a YouTube video, but my kids, they are really like, their cups are filled during the first half of the day, so that during quiet time, they're not like, trying to, like I always joke, climb me like a tree. So I have time to do podcasts like this, or I have time to create social media content. My husband has time to learn and create sales systems and funnels for our business, and build an email list and send out, like learn sales copy, like all the things we have to do for online business. So we do naps, and then my husband will work nights, and sometimes I'll work nights as well. So that's really all we've done every single day for 3 years. Like no days off for sure, because there's not much time to work. So that's what we have done. I think something that I would have to say as far as like trying to achieve like a work-life balance is that it doesn't exist. If you're like, the work-life balance is a myth based off of the rhinos that are going this way in traffic. Okay. Because that first off, people that work 8 to 5, they don't even understand what work-life balance is, in my opinion. I've worked 8 to 5. My husband worked 8 to 5 for like 5 or 6 years. So we've never done it, So people that work 8 hours a day and then spend 2 hours with their kids at night, that's like so unbalanced. And everybody in society thinks that that is the balance. And then the weekends, like I understand, I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying that's really unbalanced. Balance is where you spend equal time doing both things. And I would say we do that now. We spend more time with our kids just because that's what we want. We obviously don't have to. We should work more, like logically, but we don't. And so anyways, if you're trying to aspire to have some type of, this is based off of a belief, probably because your experience with your parents, or your like society, whatever. But if you're trying to aspire to a work-life balance and you don't like meet the certain criteria, you're just going to get down on yourself, and it's going to not want, like, money will repel you. Okay. So now, like, our life's a little weird, I understand. But like, for instance, when our third born baby was born, we launched something in the hospital, and I wasn't like, oh man, I have to like send email. Doug wasn't mad. He was doing it, obviously. I was birthing the baby and recovering, but he's over there looking at the newborn and writing an email, to like our email list. And so he's not like, dang, I have to write this email. I just want to be there with my baby. Like, he can do both, and it doesn't make him a better. Now, some people might not like this, but it doesn't make him, because he spends so much time with his kids, like so much time with his kids. So people don't realize that. If he was a workaholic and then also working in the hospital, they'd be like, you're not a supportive husband, But he spends way more time than anyone else I've ever seen with his kids. So that when he is there in the hospital writing an email next to his freshly born baby, it's just life for us, Working is a privilege to us. That's like our mindset now. It's something that just has to get done, and we don't strive for balance. We just strive towards the vision. That's the difference. Because I have tried to strive towards balance before, date night every Friday, and I put myself in these, like, with these rules, these constraints, this box. And then when I didn't meet like a certain constraint of getting all my work done during nap time, I would get so mad at myself. And then the next day I wouldn't want to do it. And then it wouldn't get done, and money would repel me. And so now my vision is, it's easy to get everything done. I don't have to stress. Like, whatever I get done is enough, So anyways, the work-life balance thing, it's a myth, and it's whatever you believe, whatever you want to believe in your vision. If I could do it all over again, what would I have done differently? So I think the first thing that I would have done, I won't talk too much about this because it's in our other podcast, is I wouldn't have like just lived my life for the masses online. I wouldn't have built a business around just appeasing algorithms, because algorithms change. Like I talked about, people's idea of you changes. You can't truly be yourself like I can now, and do this podcast is like, you have no idea, such a privilege and a breath of fresh air. Because if someone's like, I hate you, it's not going to affect my bank account. If like 1,000 people are, I don't know, telling a brand that they don't like me and I shouldn't work with them, like it's not going to, or they shouldn't work with me, which has happened during certain crazy political crises in the world. It's not going to affect my bank account. Like, I'm not scared about being canceled. I can still make money. And so I wouldn't have done that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, we're getting real if anyone is still here, but I wouldn't have become the breadwinner. Okay, so maybe I should do a whole podcast on this. I didn't necessarily become the quote unquote breadwinner, the person in the family that made all the money, because I wanted to. Like, I really don't like the mom boss vibe. Like, I don't know, it's like icky to me. I like the traditional like type of way, even though it looks like I don't. I actually do. I homeschool, so I don't know what you might think about me, but I just set out to making a lot of money. So by default, my husband was just always there. You guys can see, not necessarily riding my coattails, but like following my lead, and absolutely regret. Nowadays, it's not like that. Even though I'm the face, we are 50-50 in the business, because I will not make money in this business if he does not sell people. And so he will not make money in this business if I do not drive leads, So nowadays the business is, we don't call it 50-50. Like, that sounds gross, because we're a married couple, but we are like, both of our mindsets now are, we're in it together and we do everything together. And if he fails, I fail, And so for a long time when I was a YouTuber, it was not like that. He felt very lost in life, and we've talked about this on his podcast, or our podcast, so it's not like a secret. I'm not putting him under the bus or anything. And he wasn't sure what he should do. And so I don't regret anything that we've ever done. I don't regret him quitting his job. He doesn't either. But I do regret I don't regret this either, but like, hindsight's 2020, and going forward, I'm no longer going to strive to be the breadwinner. I don't think that it's the place for I don't think that it's the right thing for our family. I think that we're in more of a symbiosis, if that's a word. I think I'm saying that wrong. But if my husband is the one that leads the family financially, and I don't even necessarily think that this is, I don't know. Now that I've been more into the Christian faith, trying to read my Bible more, going to church more, I do think that a woman's role is with her kids at home. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, because I don't have like, I don't know, a large, I don't know, portion of my audience is not religious in that way, because I haven't talked about that kind of stuff openly. I can now, like I said, it's refreshing, and that's just what I believe. And it's been rough because of that, so that's my biggest regret, but it's worked out. by the grace of God, literally. So I think that's everything I'm going to cover. Like, holy mother of pearl, that was like a lot. Shifting your money mindset, shifting your vision for your life, and telling yourself if you could have it any way, how would you have it? And then if you could have it that way, which you can, how would that happen literally? Because a lot of people, they do want a lot for their life, but they don't really believe that it can happen for them. So they never actually try and pursue it. So that is everything for today's podcast. Again, leave a review if you get value. It would mean the absolute world to me because this is something I'm pouring clearly my heart and soul into. And thank you guys so much for sticking around, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.